Hi guys, here is Javier with 360 Tennis Accelerator. Today I wanna share this video with you guys regarding to some topic that is extremely important in youth sports. So the whole idea is like, what's more important, supervised or unsupervised training? Well, I think you have to have a combination of both. But I want you to think of this. There are two different type of the sports in general. Tennis is very skill oriented and a sport specific, and then you get sports like basketball and soccer. Okay, for both sports, if you watch across the globe, it's very much instructional and supervised. So now let's say if you're a tennis player, if you're a tennis player and you are between age 6 to 12, how much of unsupervised play there is? Probably you want to do about 20% of unsupervised play. Now, if you go between 12, 13 to 18, you get to 30 to 40% unsupervised play. And now, what would you do in those times? For the most part, you will do match play. You basically play the sport, have fun. Nothing that is really that you can do that is technical, that it needs to be required with coaches, that requires a structure. Now, besides that, you need to be finding the love for the game or for the sport. So at that moment, you're going to use a little bit more of a non-directed and unsupervised play. But for the most part, most of the sport needs to be supervised because you're trying to acquire a lot of technical skills. And the biggest mistake is that today parents think that you can learn sports or athleticism on your own, and you have to think when you think about this concept, you have to think a sport like gymnastics. How much time of the gymnastics training the gymnasts they do on their own? And it's very little because they could hurt themselves, right? But in tennis, you're not going to hurt yourself, but you're going to hurt yourself indirectly in the sense that you will not improve your technique, you will not improve your game. And then at the end of the day, after 3 4 months, you're going to say, oh, why I haven't been really improving? It's because there is very little supervised training. And I know it costs money, supervised training, but all you have to ask yourself is, where do you want to go? If you really want to get good, if you really want to maximize your time, if you really want to play college tennis or at a high level, meaning high level, I'm not talking about professional, because professional is a completely different level. But if you want to play to a higher level than a high school player, where you want to compete, supervised training is extremely important. Also, I want you to think of this. When you have a baby, how much time you spend on top of the baby when he's born? Very little time or a lot of time? A lot of time. And you teach him everything. How long it takes until the baby is kind of doing things on his own, or the toddler is doing anything on his own? It takes a long time. And in the beginning, it's constant supervision. Okay, so now when you take an athlete, you have to take in account the age, but also you have to take the training age. If the training age is very little, the training has to be completely supervised. The problem is now, because we think that we have a 14, 15-year-old kid, or sometimes a 12 or 13, they should be able to train on their own, but the reality is their training age is very, very little. And you have to realize that in that part, you have to learn to train, you have to learn to understand the game, and it takes a lot of supervised training. Now, I hope this video is helpful and you guys can take advantage of this, because I run into this situation where a lot of times people are asking me, what can I do on my own? And it's not that they don't want to help. If you just don't believe me in this thing that I'm saying, you think I'm full of shit, just go online and just type down how much time you need to be using for supervised training and unsupervised training, and that will give you an idea. This is not a question of what I think, it's what I did in the past. and what I see that it works. And I also I want to share something with you guys. The fact that YouTube became extremely good, it's a really good thing. It can help, but for the most part, you have to think that when you have an athlete and your kid is 11 or 12 years old, you have 3-4 years if you really want him to be very good at that sport, or he wants to be really good. Because if he doesn't, but boys by age 16, they will start drifting away from the sport, and girls by age 14 or 15. Why am I saying this? Is because their social time, it's what is going to come into play. So there is not a lot of years for you to really train the right way. And the other part is, you don't want to learn, take the time to learn, because by the time you take the time to learn, your kid is going to be out of the sport. It's not going to really happen. So what you're going to end up doing is, you're going to have a kid that is going to go to not to his maximum level. And I think the goal is to take him to his maximum level. For some players, the maximum level will be French Open. For some players, will be college. For some players, will be a high level of high school. But you gotta make sure that everybody gets to the highest level. I know that this speech, nobody wants to hear this, because this is a truth that it hurts, because it makes you sound like, well, I don't know this. But I'm not telling you this out of despite. I'm telling you this because this is what I've seen for over 20 years, and that's what I saw when I was a kid playing. That most of the times, also, I want one more little advice for parents. You know, when you have a kid, and I'm a dad myself, and I have two jobs. One is to be a parent, and if my kid who wanted to play tennis, will be a tennis coach, right? But if I look deep inside, even though I have many years, what's more important of a job for me? To be a dad or to be a tennis coach? And the reality will be, is to be a dad is way more important. And what you need to be doing when you're a coach is very different than what you need to be doing when you're a parent. So I hope that this helped, and thank you for listening.